And I got my homeboy Pete with me. And we letting everybody know who got a dream. Yo, stay focused. Keep moving forward. It's on the way. Keep that dream alive. If you got a dream, don't look to the left, nor the right, nor the right.
Your faith is in Jesus. Completion is here before you even begin. Dreaming big of my life in the future. Already knowing that it's not far. Having the passion to work towards Jesus. I'm gonna keep my faith and swagger going hard. Don't turn the light. Just look straight. You don't have to fear no.
Hello, everyone. We are back yet again on another Thursday for the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. I am your host, Yolanda, and I am excited to be here on this day with you guys. Look, we have a very special guest tonight. Her name is Nakoya Tyson. She's also someone I know that's doing big things in the mimosa industry. I'm just going to go and put it out there. So y'all need to be on the lookout because she's coming strong in 2022. So look, without further ado, I'm just going to ask you to please share this broadcast, invite some people to tune in, and we will be right back. So again, we will be right back. Continue to share, invite people in, and we'll be ready to talk to Miss Nakoya.
Welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, where you will hear stories from people who have experienced hell on earth and have walked past hell to share their stories. You will also hear what they are doing now and how their businesses, nonprofits, and ministries were birthed from their past trauma. So let's empower the world, one story at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Yolanda Jerry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So look, let's get this show started. I don't know about y'all, but like I said, I am excited. So look, let me give you a little background information about Miss Nakoya Tyson. Miss Nakoya Tyson is the owner of All About You Event Management, LLC, and also the creator of the Wedding Workshop Series and networking event, Mornings Are for Mimosas. That's what I said. Mornings Are for Mimosas. In addition to that, recently announced a new festival that she'll be producing in Austin, Texas called Mimosa Fest, and I can't wait to go. She has been planning events for over 17 years and truly feels that this is her passion. When it comes to planning, Nakoya believes that excellent customer service and a positive attitude are key elements to producing successful events. Bringing people together with diverse backgrounds to listen to one another, learn from each other, and achieve common goals is something that Nakoya prides herself on. She is a graduate of the oldest HBCU in the South, Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, with a BA in Mass Communication. She became a certified government meeting professional in 2012, certified in exhibition management in 2016, certified wedding planner in 2018, certified in corporate event planning in 2018, and is a member of the inaugural CEM Advanced Professional class in 2019. She is an active member of the International Association of Exhibitions and Events, where she currently serves as an IAEE CEM faculty member and teaches classes on various subjects in trade show planning and management. Whew, Lord, look, I just read that woman bio to you. Look, this woman has credentials. Do you hear me? And she is experienced. So look, I ain't gonna say nothing else because look, I done gave you her whole bio. So we are going to bring Miss Nakoya Tyson on into the show. Hey, Nakoya.
Hey, Yolanda. Hey, y'all. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here right now.
Are you? Well, I'm excited
Yes,
to be here too as well because look, it's been a minute since we actually seen each other, each
I know.
other virtually right here, but being able to have an actual conversation. And I've known you for a good time right now, a good bit right now. And, I just want to make sure that, people get to know who Nicoya is outside of me just telling them who you are. We know you're doing all these boss things, but we need to go a little bit deeper to find out who this phenomenal woman is and where she came from. So are you ready,
Amen.
Nicoya? You ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. So let's get the show started. So look, I want to ask, because I always ask people this who come onto the show, who they are, and were they born and raised. So can you share a little bit about your background, where you were born and raised, and anything else you want us to know about your childhood?
Yes. So I was actually born in San Diego, California. A lot of people don't know that, but I was born in San Diego, California. I was raised in a really, really small town in Arizona, Parker, Arizona. And then when I was 13, we moved to Portland, Oregon. And I spent my teenage years, high school in Portland, Oregon. And then after that, I moved on over to the East Coast and South, I should say, going to college in North Carolina. And then the last 10, 12 years of my life were spent in the DC area.
Wow, so you've gotten around a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Just a little.
Know where you are now. Of course, I read in your bio, you graduated from one of the oldest HBCUs in the South, Shaw University.
Are you in the building?
So tell me what that experience was like, going to HBCU and graduating from one of the oldest ones in the South.
Well, one thing that I always love to tell people about the HBCU experience, it is really like family. I left school when I graduated from college. I went into school, I should say, not knowing anyone. I had come to college. I went to North Carolina, all the way from Portland, Oregon, almost 3,000 miles away from home. I did not know a soul at that school. I didn't know anyone. I just remember visiting the school when I was a junior, senior in high school, and remembering how I felt when I walked on that campus. And then when I graduated, I left with an entire family. I mean, while I was at school, I joined a sorority. I met so many people that I still keep in touch with to this day. Friends who are I consider them, I really do consider them more family than just friends.
Wow. So knowing that you left, it's just like the military. I guess I can say that, going to college and meeting new people from different backgrounds and walks of life. And then here it is, you got these people you can call your extended family, some people that you've met and have long relationships and friendships with for a very long time. So, and it's always good to be able to have those type people in your life because you get to grow together. Even though you don't physically live in the same area, you get to see how each other grow as we get older. So
yes, I think what I love about it is I feel like I grew up with these people. I became an adult with these people. They met me as a 18-year-old person from the West Coast, and I just remember going to school, and when people asked where I came from, I was like, Portland, Oregon, and the first thing they said was, "Is Black people over there?" And I was like, "Yes, there are Black people in Oregon. Yes, I promise you there are."
Wow.
And then to just, again, those relationships have blossomed and grown. And like I said, I spend time with these people. We've spent holidays together and we've met each other's families. We are, still in each other's lives, and kids become God kids and all of that stuff. It's just, it was really, truly an amazing experience. And even upon graduating from college, going back and meeting people who went to the same school, you may not have gone to school together. You may not even be in the same class, graduating class, but there are people who I've met upon graduation at a homecoming or whatever that I became friends with just because we all went to the same HBCU.
Wow. So let's go back saying, okay, yeah, there's Black people over in Portland. So I would say a big culture shock when you're going from Portland to going to HBCU. So did you have to learn new things? Did you have to learn how to do other things that were different from what you were used to doing?
I would say yes, because one, meeting people from a bunch of different backgrounds, diverse backgrounds, even though it was a historically Black college, people still grew up differently, learned differently. I would say I didn't necessarily have to learn anything that was different, so to speak, but I did get a chance to talk with people who had similar backgrounds as me, but also different backgrounds as well. But I will say one thing I did learn, which is hilarious. I went to school not knowing how to really, I mean, I still don't know how to do my own hair. I go to a hairdresser, but it is just so amazing when you go to an HBCU, if you don't know how to dress, if you don't know how to dance, if you don't know how to cook, if you don't know how to put on makeup, if you don't know how to, like, again, it's somebody on your floor or down the hall who's like, you know what? You said you can't go to the club with us because you don't have nothing to wear. We got some clothes for you. You coming with us? Or let me do your hair because you look a mess today. We're gonna work that out. So it was that again. It's just like I got a lot of cousins.
I hear you. I guess they made sure that you got your life together before you went out there and represent them and the school.
Pretty much. That is hilarious.
So that's good that you have all those great memories and still able to hold on to that even today. So Nicoya, I want to roll over into, before we continue to move forward, I want to give a couple of people a shout out that have tuned into the show. And I want to say hello to Paula Favre and Patrice Goldberg. You also have Miss Keys and Christy Gilner. We also have Frank Henderson. So some people are tuning in, and they'll still continue to come in as the show go on. So thank you all so much for tuning into the show this evening. Elder Long, hello, Elder Long. So for those of you that are just tuning in now, I'm going to ask you to please share this broadcast, invite some people to the show. We do have Miss Nicoya Tyson, where she'll be talking about being a change agent in a change-resistant world. And now we're going to roll into talking a little bit about your story. But before we get into talking about your story, I'm going to go ahead and go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back. And we'll go ahead and talk more about Nicoya Tyson.
Hey guys, I am Rita M. Green, owner of GoFig Co., a boutique digital marketing and project management firm. We specialize in email marketing, social media campaigns and management, website design, graphic design, email marketing, Dubsado setup, and more. Administrative tasks especially. We are here to take the hassle out of your hustle and just to get things done, period. So if you're in need of another set of hands, a second pair of eyes, or a fourth or a fifth or a sixth, we are here to assist you with all of your needs. Again, I'm Rita M. Green, owner of GoFig Co., and we would love to serve you, your business, and your brand. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at GoFig. Go is spelled GeauxFig. You can also see us online at www.gofig.com. Check out what we have to say, and also check out our blog where all of our articles that we post online are located. Plus, you can see our portfolio of completed works. We'd love for you to check those out as well. If you'd like to check with me, if you'd like to connect with me personally, I am Rita M. Green on LinkedIn. I hope you have a fantastic day. Go win the day, go for the gold, and bye-bye.
And that was GoFig Company, Miss Rita M. Green. She is the CEO and has a wonderful team. She's also my executive assistant. So there's a lot that she does behind the scenes when it comes to making Dr. Yolanda Jerry look amazing out into the world. So if you need a website, you need graphics done, you need a virtual assistant, give Rita Green and her team a holler at www.gofig.com. Again, that's www.gofig.com. All right, so let's get into the thick of things, Miss Nicoya.
Talk about it.
All right, let's get into it. So You know, I always, of course, the whole point of the show is to highlight, you know, individuals who are doing great things out in the world. But I always believe that it's been birthed from some type of trauma or some kind of, you know, significant event in life that has pushed them into their purpose. So I want to talk about one of those things that may have happened in your life where you actually had to push through or overcome, and it took you a minute, but now you're out here doing great things. So let's talk and chat about that. Share with us some of the things of one major event that's happened in your life.
Well, it's funny that prior to the commercial break, we were talking about my experience in going to an HBCU. And while it was an amazing and a great experience, I would not trade it for the world. Going off as a young woman on my own, not knowing anyone, was probably one of the hardest things that I had to deal with in my life. I left home, 18 on my own, not knowing anyone. And I remember when my freshman year of college, I probably was only there for a few months at that point. And Raleigh had a really big snowstorm. Something happened, a snowstorm. We also had hurricanes down there. I had never experienced that either, but had a big snowstorm. And I remember calling home and I wasn't working at the time. I hadn't gotten a job because I had just started school. And I remember calling home and telling my parents, like, I need some help. I need some help. And I remember it being stated, like, it's nothing we could do for you, pretty much, because, we were a family that did not come from money. I didn't come from money. And I remember it was said to me, like, nobody told you to go to school 3,000 miles away. Like, it's nothing that we could do for you. And that, to me, that very moment, I think, was the start of kind of, I don't want to say a downward spiral, but I think that was the start of the change in the relationship that I had with my mother. And, going through the years at that very moment, I remember once the snow melted and everything went away and life was back to normal, so to speak, I went and got a job. And I'd always worked, from the time that I could work. But at that time I was like, I want to at least get to school and see what that experience is like before I just start working and all of that. And so I got a job immediately. And that was a moment for me that also told me, if you want to get something done, like in certain instances, you have to do it yourself. And I think that I've struggled a little bit moving forward in life because, my best friend just told me the other day that you have a problem accepting help. And I had to really sit back and think about, like, when did that start? When did I have, why? Do I really have a problem accepting help? And she was like, yes, you do. Or you ask for it when you really, 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 really need it. But, sometimes, you need to use your village. And so, fast forward to a few years, my relationship with my mom kind of just went downhill. And I, even now as an adult, for me, I have struggled with that we don't have a relationship at all. And it's not because I don't want to, and it's not because I don't need that. I feel that as an adult, when we become adults, I feel we need our parents a little bit more because we are dealing with so much more as we're coming into womanhood or manhood, as you're a young woman, a young man, and you're dealing with things that you've never experienced before. And I think that sometimes it was hard for me to put a word to it until you and I were talking just the other day. It's hard for me to put a word to it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I really do feel that I have abandonment issues, abandonment problems. And I'll rewind a little bit. I did not meet my biological father until I was 21.
Wow.
And I did not meet my biological father until I was 21. I was raised by my mom and my stepdad. I don't refer to him as my stepdad, but he's not my biological father. They married when I was a little girl. And so I didn't meet my biological father until I was 21. And then he passed away when I was 31. So we didn't really get to know each other. We didn't, even within those 10 years, we didn't get to know each other very well. We didn't have a relationship that I feel a daughter and a father should have, because I did not know him. I have other family from that side, and I communicate with them and I keep in touch with them. But I didn't know my dad. And for me, I always grew up feeling like I didn't really have what was my identity. I didn't really feel that I had an identity because I didn't know my dad. I didn't know what type of family he came from. I didn't know what type of people he was raised by. I didn't know my grandma, all of that. And then I think that just kind of created a domino effect, so to speak, when it came to me growing up, because I feel like I was always wondering who I was, like who I really truly was. And it kind of goes into the topic of our discussion of being a change agent, because, you know, I know that the only thing that's constant in life is change. And I went through a lot of change growing up. I moved, as you all heard at the beginning when I told you all where I was from, born in California, raised in Arizona, high school in Portland, Oregon. We moved around a lot, but that I don't think was a bad thing. I actually appreciate that because I got to meet so many different people from so many different diverse backgrounds. And I think that has also helped me be able to deal with different types of people had I not known what that was like growing up.
Right. Wow. So knowing that you, and like you said, until we had the pre-interview conversation, you didn't realize that you had dealt with abandonment. I actually put a word to it for you. You know, as a young woman, you know, especially knowing that your mother said, you know, we didn't tell you to leave, you know, and you feeling like, okay, they basically just told me it was my fault, you know, and I'm sure you took on that weight, you know, of feeling like, is it really my fault? You know, I should not have left or anything like that. So talking about the abandonment piece though, as a young woman, how did that affect you, you know, into adulthood, you know, because you're a mother now, right?
Yes, I am a mother.
And I know that you're very constant in your son's life, but how do you think that affected you even before you had your son, you know, in your normal everyday living?
Well, it's funny. I at the time I was the last of my friends to have a child, and you know, and I was talking to them prior to giving birth or getting pregnant and giving birth and all that I was afraid to have children, not because I didn't think I would be a good mom, but I thought that growing up, my mom said some things to me that I feel like I would never say to a child. And I also feel, you know, when you mentioned the word blame, you know, I felt, you know, I know that she didn't say these things to hurt our feelings. I know that she didn't say these things to make us feel bad or anything like that. But certain things I feel that you shouldn't say to a child, like, well, if I didn't have kids, then I would have been able to travel. If I didn't have kids, I would have been able to go to school. If I didn't have kids, you know, and so it made me think, well, maybe I shouldn't have kids because I'm not going to be able to travel. I'm not going to be able to go to school. I'm not going to be able to do anything. Kids, in my mind, kids ruin your life. Kids ruin your life. Kids make it where you can't do anything. Kids make it where you can't be productive. That's what I took on. That's right. What I felt. And so I waited until I remember saying, I don't want to have a child until I'm 30, because I feel like, well, I will have gone to school. I will have graduated from college. I will be well into my career. I probably would have traveled as much as I feel like I could prior to. And no lie, Yolanda, I gave birth to my son when I was in February of 2012. I was 30, and then I turned 31 in March. And I was like, okay, well, I met that goal because I did feel at that time I have so much more. I have so much to offer this little person. This little person will not have to worry about some of the things that I had to worry about. Now because he's a boy, you know, he has other issues and other things that he's going to have to deal with that I didn't have to deal with, you know, him being a young Black man. But the things that I felt like I dealt with as a young child, I did not want him to have to do that. And I also, he is so precocious and so bright and so smart, like math whiz and all that good stuff. And I want to be that person that cultivates that. As a young woman, I felt like I had to be smart. I had to do better, because that's the only way that's going to get me out of here. One, growing up in a small town, and in the small town that I grew up in, my family was the only Black family there. So that also helped stem, my way of thinking in certain things. And again, prior to becoming a mom, I just always said, I want to make sure that I get everything that I've done, so I don't feel like I have any regrets, or so I don't feel that I missed something.
Right. So how do you, knowing that, your son, you don't have this relationship with your mother, how do you feel that's even going to affect him moving forward? Because does he even know who his grandmother is, had the opportunity to meet her? Because then it's like, okay, now you have this other part
issue.
Right. I'm sure eventually that will come up if it hasn't already.
It has not come up. I am mentally trying to prepare for when that does come up, but he hasn't seen her since he was 3 or 4 months old. When I flew out there, I flew out back home to Portland when he was a baby, because I had a work event out there, and that's the last time that he has seen her in person, or the last time that she's seen him in person. I think that I have great relationships with other family members. My mom had 7 sisters, 1 brother. So, 8 kids, a big family, so to speak. And everyone has kids and grandkids and all of that good stuff. But I have amazing relationships with my aunts. They are my other mothers, as I call them, because they have been such a constant in my life and in my son's life. And, and my grandma, it's funny because that's his grandma to him. And it's funny because I always tell him, because she calls him Gigi, great grandson, and I tell him to call her Gigi, but he's like, no, I'm gonna just call her grandma because that's my grandma. So I know that is gonna have to come up eventually, because I know that he sees his friends who have grandmothers and grandfathers and those relationships with them, and I know that we're gonna have to have that conversation. And I'm mentally ready, I think, but I don't want it to be a thing where he thinks that it's something bad for him. I don't want him to think that.
Right. So how do you think you say you believe that you're mentally ready? What are some of the things that you have implemented and used to be able to cope with, being abandoned by your mom and not have the relationship? Now, I know you mentioned that, the good thing is that you still are connected to her siblings, which is your aunts and the other extended family members. So I thank God for that, because sometimes, usually when one family member gets cut off, then everybody else kind of cuts you off too. So to God be the glory on that. But how did you cope all these years? What have you used to get you through this, to keep you in the headspace that you're in with a positive mindset, and also preparing yourself to even have this conversation with your son?
Well, I am a writer by trade. Like that is my go-to place. I love to write, and I love to write down my thoughts and write down my feelings. And also, I know in our community, the Black community, we don't talk about therapy. It's just pray, pray, and then the Lord will make it all right. No, the Lord made doctors to make us all right.
That's right. Come on, you better tell it.
So ain't nothing wrong with therapy, y'all. Please go see somebody. So I do. I don't have a therapist here because I recently moved to Austin, a year ago, and so that is something that I am seeking. I had a therapist back at home, in the DC area before I moved, but therapy and also prayer. I do give up a lot of things, give things up to God. I really do, because I feel that if I'm not gonna have a relationship with anybody else, it's definitely gonna be with Him. And that is one of the constants in my life. So those are the ways that I cope. I also talk to my friends. I have friends who have amazing relationships with their parents and their mothers, and some of their mothers have become my mother, I should say. And for me, that's been good for me, because at least I get that piece of advice that I need, that motherly advice that I sometimes need. And I want the audience to know and understand, this is not to bash my mom or anything like that, because that's not what this is about. What this is about is how I'm coping and how I'm dealing with it, and my thoughts and my feelings. and longing for that relationship and hopefully one day getting it. But I just know that I don't have it right now, and I may not ever get it, and I have to be okay with that.
Right. My hope, is that hopefully that does happen where you all are able to connect. I always try to say if you can, somehow bring that relationship and mend that relationship, that's a good thing, because at least you'll have something to hold on to, even though it was a big gap and a big void. We only have one set of parents, the two people that brought us in this world, right? And for someone to leave the world not having that relationship, I can't, there's a couple of people I know I can't even imagine being in those shoes, because I've had both of my parents, and had a good relationship with my parents. So my heart goes out to you. And I'm glad that you mentioned the piece about therapy, because it's true, in the Black community, it's frowned upon. I think it's slowly coming around because we are starting to talk about it more, because we used to always say, if I can't help myself, nobody can. I used to hate hearing that. It's like, how you gonna help yourself? You the one with the problem,
You can't see nothing else.
Right. That don't go together. So thanks for mentioning that. I think therapy is real important because it pulls things out of us that we may have suppressed for a long time, or there may be some things that we have never addressed that's also a part of the issues that we're dealing with. So
you're
therapist.
Yeah, I think for me, it's more so dealing with my feelings of confusion, trying to figure out, or initially thinking, what did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? Because we had a relationship when I was a little girl, but as an adult now, I'm questioning, was that relationship out of obligation because you're my mom, and that's why you had to have a relationship with me because you birthed me.
Wow.
But also those feelings or those thoughts of what can I do to not let this happen again with anyone else or with my child specifically. And I think for me, I've not overcome it. I'm dealing with it, and I am trying to overcome it. I think it's going to be something that I deal with a lot because I think that relationship affects a lot of your other relationships.
And it's true. I believe that too as well. So, wow. Now, I know you mentioned about the writing too, because we talked about therapy. So that's one way to cope if you're dealing with abandonment issues. But the other thing is writing, right? Journaling is so important. A lot of people are like, I don't know what to write. Write exactly what's in your
what you're thinking.
Because once you start dumping that stuff, because that's what I call it, stuff, that junk, then you never know. You'll realize you've not written a whole book. And anybody like me and Nicoya, they could be your next #1 bestseller. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's good to really write things down just to get it out, and be able to have to use later if you choose to, or just to say, I got this out. I got it out my system. I know you and I have been a part of a book together, and so that's how I initially met you. And look at that, we
right
a friendship, and we met right there in Durham, North Carolina.
Right.
Laughing because I said, who knew? Now guess what? My significant other's right there in the same area.
Crazy. It's small. I mean, the world just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's an amazing thing, though.
Right. And even then, during that time, even sharing a hotel room together, when we were dealing with certain little things, being frustrated with work or maybe dealing with stuff at home, we were still writing stuff, even on an actual conference trip. You know what I mean? So
on the airplane, writing stuff, can't sleep, writing stuff. I mean, it comes at any moment, y'all.
It does. So again, therapy and just journaling is very important when it comes to helping you overcome not just abandonment, but just any type of issues that you're dealing with. Always seek help, and also find a way to also self-soothe. So Nicoya, I'm going to another commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll start talking about, okay, knowing that you're going through this, how did this push you to being a change agent, of course, in the change resistant world? And we'll talk about that a little more, and then all the great things that you're doing. So we'll be right back.
Dr. Yolanda Jerry is excited to announce her next anthology, My Walk Past Hell, Volume 2, The Men. This time it's all about the men. Men walk past hell just like women. The My Walk Past Hell anthology was an amazing experience for all of the women co-authors. They let out their innermost experiences and got a lot off of their chest. Many lives were changed, and most importantly, their stories led to deeper healing, and they became #1 bestsellers. That's why Dr. Jerry is offering this opportunity to the men, young or old, it doesn't matter. Your story deserves to be told, and you can change someone's life with simple words on a page. It's time to be heard. The world is waiting on you. Book your author spot today at hiswalkpasthell.com. That's www.hiswalkpasthell.com.
Y'all heard it. Hiswalkpasthell.com. Look, our first book, our first volume, My Walk Past Hell Anthology, volume #1, was a #1 bestseller. But I'm not even worried about that part. What I want to actually toot my horn about is these women came through, and they came through with their stories. I mean, with such powerful stories about abuse. We're talking about jail. I mean, it's so many stories that in that book, it'll literally take you on a roller coaster ride, an emotional roller coaster ride. So if you know any men who are willing to share their story, we have some men that's already on board, that's willing to be a voice just for even the men in the younger generation, so they can see it's okay for men to be vulnerable, share their story, because it's part of their healing. With all the stuff that's going on in the world, we need this right now. It's more about helping people heal in this world. So if you know somebody that's a man, tell him to sign up to be a part of this anthology, because we are going to be #1 bestsellers. Because guess what? We got the women from volume 1 supporting the men. So again, register at www.hiswalkpasthell.com. All right, Nicoya.
That's going to be a good one.
Oh, girl, I can't wait. I'm so excited about this thing. Look, I'm so excited. Look. Look, there go Dr. Jerry's tribe. Look, see, there go one of those. Look, they coming in there. Yep, that's right.
They coming through, y'all. I see y'all.
So let's talk about this being a change agent in a change resistant world. Talk about that for me, because I know, you dealt with a lot of resistance, but you found that you had to be the change agent if you wanted something to change. So talk about that for me.
It's so funny. I'm so glad that you asked that, because when I came up with what I was going to talk about, I thought about a conversation with a former colleague, and that is, she actually has been calling me that for a few years now, the change agent. She's like, you just, you see something, you see a problem, you see an issue, and you tackle it head on, but you do such a great job of assessing what that is and trying to really figure out the ins and outs. And I just think, look at everything that's happening in the world today. I mean, today was the first time that I have watched the news in a very long time. And I was so sad, and I was so it just did something to me when I was watching it this morning. And then when I came back into my hotel room and the news was still on, it was just, I forgot what news station it was on. But I feel that we are reverting back to how things used to be back in slavery times, and back in when the women's rights movement started. Like, I just see so much happening in the world right now, and people being so resistant to changing those things. I'm trying to figure out how do we get back to this? How do we get back to people not respecting each other, people not being willing to change what they're doing, change themselves, but also being able to help others change those things within them. And for me, I think because of the way that I grew up and how I was raised, but also how I was reared, so to speak, once I went off to college and went to school, I learned so much. And I learned that everybody's not like me. Everybody's not like you. And if everyone was, then the world would be a completely different place. But Being okay with change, because you cannot stay the same if you feel that if you want to grow, if you feel that you need to grow. If you stay the same, you're not going to be able to do that. So being willing and open to make the changes that you need to make first within yourself, then it's a lot easier to make those changes out in the world and out in the spaces that you're in. And what is that quote? Be the change you wish to see in the world. That to me, that resonates with me so much, because I will not take a job if I don't feel that it's okay for me to go in and change things. I will not go into a relationship if I don't feel that I'm going to grow and be able to change myself and learn from that. I won't take on a particular client if I feel that I can't do that for them as well. And so I honestly believe that change, there's no way that this world is going to become a better place unless we're okay with changing, unless we're okay with making those changes within.
Right. And again, like you mentioned, watching the stuff on the news and all the things that's going on, sometimes, going back and looking at all those bad things happen, that should prompt somebody to say, hey, I need to be a change agent. What can I do to help change things in my own community? It's like, we know this stuff is going on worldwide, but what can I do to give myself to the community to be able to make change, especially with the stuff that's going on with these children today.
Oh, yes.
Kids are dying left and right behind stupid stuff. I mean, literally stupid stuff over an argument, something that escalated and they take it to the extreme.
But you know what? When you say that, it made me think about a conversation that I just had the other day that children, or even I don't even want to say children, even some grown adults, we are not taught to communicate. And to me, I feel that there's no reason a person should die because you guys had a disagreement, because you got into an argument. Oh my God, I'm mad at you because you disagree with me, or you don't like something that I say. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get my gun, or I'm gonna whatever, how, like, people killing each other just because they had a disagreement. To me, I'm just like, that again, you have to change the way that you're thinking and the way that you are not necessarily interpreting, but internalizing certain things. Because again, it goes back to what we were talking about, things that my mother said to me. She may not have meant X, Y, and Z, but I took it to her not wanting to be my mom, or not wanting to be in my life or be a part. And that, I think, goes back to that bad communication part of these people and these disagreements and these arguments and things that are happening in the world. Because again, these young folks really need to realize and understand, you don't have to die over an argument, over just a disagreement.
You don't. And the perfect term for that is called conflict resolution.
Yes, right? Ma'am.
Conflict resolution.
We are lacking those skills in 2021.
Absolutely. There's one thing the military taught me right is conflict resolution, especially when dealing with people you know or you don't know. And I think that's something, see, that just pinged me. That might be something we need to do a class on.
Conflict. That's a good one.
Yeah, how to deal with conflict, because just recently we just had an incident over here at one of the casinos here locally where there was an argument between two people, and do you know the person went after that person and shot them and killed them? Like, that could have been avoided if they could have had a conversation and been able to really resolve that. And the crazy part is, probably was something that could have been resolved just like that. But in
the moment, it probably could have. Yes.
Yep, because people get in their emotions and their feelings, and they get so that adrenaline rush happens. It's just like, it's, what I say is my way or the highway, I just hope that, moving forward, even in the midst of COVID, that people are really truly being still and sitting down and thinking about, what can I do to be a better me? And not only just be a better me, but what can I do to also be a role model for other people?
Yes.
So, Nicoya, what would you say to a person who is dealing with a lot of resistance, whether it's at work, because people deal with it at work too, whether it's dealing with a family member or anyone in general? What would you say to them if they're constantly being resisted or being met with resistance?
Go somewhere. No, I'm playing. No. I feel like in the workplace, when I'm talking about it in the workplace, I always say, talk to me, talk to us. Let's talk about what it is that you don't like about this, about this change that may be about to come about, or what it is. Do you not like the way that you're feeling when this is occurring? I also tell people to talk to me about what you do like about this. And this is in the workplace, y'all. You know, what is it that you do like about this change? Because I think that sometimes in the workplace, people love they love what the change, the outcome of the change, like the finished product of the change, but they don't like that work and that stuff that you have to do to get to that change. And I just had this conversation with a former colleague that I've known for 15 years. But when it comes to your personal life, I always say, look at where you're going to be after this is over. Where is it that you see you're going to be once this change gets made, especially if it is something that is hindering you from growing in your relationships, or growing in your like schooling, so to speak. Because people sometimes are like, will start out going, I want to go to get another degree, and then they quit in the middle of it because it's too hard. I don't like this. I don't have time. I don't want to. But think about what is going to happen afterwards. And it's so funny. Lee said, like, I like to say, only babies like change. And it is funny because it's usually coming from those of us who are a little bit older. Like, we're the ones that are being resistant to it because we don't like the way it makes us feel. We don't like it's pushing us. It's making me think too much. It's making me, it's easier to keep doing it this way. It's easier to keep doing it this way. But I always like to say, just because you've always done it that way, does that mean that it's right? It's just easy. It's just easy. So I always say, yes, it's going to be hard, but just think about what it's going to look like on the other side when all of this change happens, when it's either going to make your life, your personal life or your work life, a little more seamless and a little less stressful.
That's good. A little less seamless and a little. You're right. I think, and one of the things I always tell people, even, change is good. I mean, whether it's in business or whether it's in a relationship, I'll tell you right now, as a person, I wouldn't want to be who I was 20 years ago. Can you
imagine?
No, absolutely not. And the good thing is, yes, I served in the military for 20 years, but do I want to go back 20 years? No, I don't want to go back 20 years. A lot has changed, a lot has evolved. Because I mean, think about it. We got cell phones now. Things are right at the tip of our fingers, right? But back then we had to go to the encyclopedia and we had to go to the library and do all these different things. So change is good in that aspect for me, because now it's like I can get things done a lot quicker, and I have to worry about having time being taken away from me. So that's just one example. But the other thing is, even though we don't like change too, Nicoya, change is good because it challenges you.
Yes.
Right? I always tell people, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I like a good challenge now.
Yeah. And it challenges you at a point to where it's like, okay, because sometimes people get so comfortable and they wonder why they're not elevating, why they're not evolving, because you keep yourself in a little bubble. If you keep yourself in that bubble, you're going to stay there. You got to break out that bubble,
Yes.
Continue to keep moving. So
yes, I have this, the way that I think of things is I think about the finished product, and I think about what I'm going to feel like when this is complete, whether it's personal, professional. I always think, how am I going to feel when this is complete? And that actually is what drives me when it comes to making certain changes and doing the things that are going to stretch me, is what I like to call it. I want to be stretched. I want to be challenged, and I want to see what it's like on the other side of this issue, of this problem, because I know once I get to that side, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel better. And I think that I'm going to be better also, just because, if you feel good, you're going to be good and you're going to do good.
Right. Absolutely. Which brings me to when we talk about change, I've known you for a few years now, and I remember I'm going back to sitting in this hotel room. And you and I went to this conference. I can't even remember the name, but all I remember is Latoya Luckett was there as the keynote speaker, right?
Yes.
And, you and I are thinking about, okay, what are we gonna do next? Because we were so pumped, like, okay, we empowered these people now brought into us, like, what's gonna be our next thing? What we doing next? And it's like, as soon as we got out during the day, it's like, okay, when we got something to eat, we go back to the room. Here it is, we both in the bed on laptops trying to figure out what's my next thing. What I come up with next? And and you would ask me, Yolanda, what do you think about this? Does this look good when you do your morning for mimosas? And
I remember.
I think the graphic can look a little better. You remember that? It was just
I remember.
And then to see you basically evolve, right? And I know you probably, you've seen it on your end too when it comes to me, but for us to see each other evolve from where we have come from, again, being a change agent in a resistant world, there were things that we were dealing with, when it comes to resistance, but it's like, how do we create change? And we had to do that by doing what we were doing, going to conferences. What can we do, to continue to get better? Because some of the things that we were dealing with was resistance. So how can I be the change agent? And now, which brings me to Nakoya Tyson and this Mimosa Fest. Oh my God. Look, it's like I'm sitting here really literally looking at my calendar. It's like, Lord, I'm supposed to be going to I'm supposed to be going to Portugal. Oh, by the way, y'all be on the lookout for that flyer, okay? Because I'm like,
we need to talk about this. Portugal.
I know. Look, I don't know, the cat's out the bag, but y'all it's about to be dropped. I put that out there because your Mimosa Fest is coming up in 2022. And it's like me trying to figure out, okay, how can I be in Texas and then a couple of days later be back home so I can be ready to hop on a plane and go out of the country? A couple of days later, it's like, well, maybe if I just pack all my stuff in Portugal before I leave, I just have a separate bag for Mimosa, a separate bag for Mimosa Fest, for that weekend. Be like in and out, get there Friday, be gone on Monday, and next thing you know, playing Wednesday. It's just crazy. I've been thinking this, y'all don't understand. It's
oh my goodness.
I'm gonna make sure I'm there because I want to be supportive of you because I've been able to watch you grow, and evolve. And what an amazing thing to be able to just be there and see it all happen and be like, I was there at the very first one. So tell us about this, tell us about the things you have going on. Tell us about this Mimosa Fest before we jump off of here. So everybody know about it. They can go ahead and y'all can go ahead and make sure you book your plane ticket or ride on the road with me. Come on. I gotta catch a flight. You ain't gonna have no time to drive, but tell us about Mimosa Fest.
Yes. So a few years ago, y'all, as Yolanda referenced, I created this event called Mornings Are for Mimosas, and it initially started out as an event, a workshop for brides and grooms, just to help them get started with their wedding planning process. Because I was always getting a lot of questions from potential clients and friends and family about planning a wedding or an event, so to speak. So I created this workshop. Well, I noticed as as time is going by, a lot of people did not want to spend that time 2 or 3 hours in a workshop. They just didn't have the time to do it. And so I also noticed that those that are on the event side, we like to do that kind of stuff. We like to network. We like to go out. We like to meet new people. So I finagled and switched the event up to be a networking event for those who are in the events industry. And one day I'm talking to my best friend, shout out to you, Gooch. She and I were talking and she said, I think you should turn Mornings Are for Mimosas into a conference. And I was like, there's so many networking conferences, women empowerment conferences and all of that for those of us. And at the time that she and I were having this conversation, I had just spoken to someone who had just wrapped up an event at the New Orleans Convention Center. And my brain just started moving. And I was like, oh my God, I thought New Orleans Convention Center, Essence Fest, Mimosa Fest. Oh my God, I'm about to do a Mimosa Festival. And it kind of
fest together too. Look, speaking of events, love, I forgot all about that.
That's how my thought process went, and it was kind of seamless. when I started thinking about it, and I'm now in Austin, Texas, people, and Austin is the live music capital of the world. So live music is a huge thing here in Austin, and I was like, oh my goodness, I want some of Austin's local talent. I want a live band. I want a DJ that's from Austin. I want a hip hop violinist. I want people that are here who are in Austin. But what I've been calling is, I said, Mimosa Fest, think boozy, bougie, brunchy day party. Like that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah. And
and I want people to I want people to go. You a mess. I want people to leave and be like, that was such a vibe. Like I had such a good time. I heard good music. I ate good food. We're gonna have food trucks. We're gonna have vendors. We're gonna have just anything that you could think of at a festival. And it's coming to you May 15th, 2022 in Austin, Texas.
Woo-hoo,
I'm so ready. Oh, we're gonna have a mimosa contest too. Yolanda, if you come, you can be a judge.
Hey, you know me. Y'all heard it. So look, if you coming, I better not know who you are because I'm gonna know your tolerance. No.
So yes, that's my baby. It is the thing that makes me light up when I talk about it, when I'm working on it. I spend the wee hours of the morning. I will wake up at 4:00 in the morning and I'm like, oh, you know what? This is who we need to reach out to. Right now, we are securing sponsors. I'm not going to announce it just yet, but we got a really huge sponsor on board, and I can't wait to tell y'all when all the paperwork and everything gets signed. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be awesome.
Well, I'm excited too. So y'all make sure y'all register and get your tickets. Anybody want to join me? Look, I'm going. Just thought I'd let y'all know I'm going to be there. So if Dr. Jerry gonna be there, you might want to be there.
Y'all might want to come hang out with Dr. Jerry.
That'll be a time where we can have fun and not do business. Who we know, we might be having fun and doing business at the same time. Somebody might
knowing
be
us.
See?
Knowing us, we probably will.
So Nicoya, tell everybody where they can reach out to you, how they can follow you to include on social media. Look at Lee, somebody's on. Look, that's my best friend of 25 years. So look, if I'm going, I already know he gonna go and catch that flight too. Like I said,
come on, Lee. I want to see you too. So if you're on Instagram, you can find me at Mimosa Fest. It's just that simple, at Mimosa Fest, or at AAYOU Events. You can also go to the website, which is www.mimosa-fest.com. And Nicoya at AAYOU Events if you want any more information, or if you want to just reach out to me to get some info.
Yes, y'all better get
ready.
Find
me, y'all. Find me.
Look, it's gonna be drinking mimosas and eating. Wait, didn't you say y'all was gonna have food trucks out there?
Food, yes, we have food trucks.
You know I get want to eat now. Foodie girl Yogi over here. That's right. Look, you don't know, now you know. Everybody knows my hashtag, Foodie girl Yogi.
Oh my God.
If you go to my stories right now on my page, you'll see I posted food from yesterday and today, and I got people hating on me, but I don't care. I got a high metabolism, and I'm going to eat. Okay, I am going to eat.
Oh my goodness!
Like I say, keep scrolling.
It's two spots when you come visit that I got to take you to go eat. So yes, Foodie girl Yogi, I'm gonna take you there.
I'll be ready.
Definitely, it's Instagrammable moments. I promise you that.
I got you. Well, look, Nicoya, I want to say thank you so much for being on the show and coming in to let our audience listen to your story, about abandonment and also being a change agent in a change resistant world. Do you have any last minute words of encouragement or a message that you would like to leave for the viewing audience before we jump off of the show tonight?
Yes. Well, one, I just want to say thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. It is always so good to catch up with you, but also to, not only talk business, but talk life. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you to everyone out there watching. The word I just want to say to you all, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay stuck there. So it's okay to get that help. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek help. And it's also okay to, sometimes you do have to sit in it and think through it, but don't stay there. I want everyone to feel encouraged and feel that they have someone that they can go to and talk to. Even if you don't have friends or family, there are people out there who specialize in helping us with how we can get through some of these mental things that we're going through and thinking through. So be good out there, y'all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your words of encouragement and pouring into us today. Look, you all, if you're just jumping on and tuning in, we have been talking with Koya for the past hour about being a change agent in a change resistant world. Please go back and watch the replay so that way you can go back and get all of the good info that she poured out today. And again, remember, the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week, we have a young lady by the name of Miss Cynthia Simmons, who is going to be coming to share her story with us as well. So don't forget to tune in. Tell somebody, tell a friend, tell a business partner to come to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show and get fed with a whole bunch of knowledge and information and also some healing. So until next Thursday, I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in and be safe out there.
Bye, y'all.